As Charles Lee said in the post-game presser, tale of two halves. The Hornets fall to 2-4 after really promising stretches of basketball, good basketball. I'm joined here by writer for the Charlotte Observer and the founder of the Highway 49 podcast, Hunter Bailey. Hunter, let's start with the good, then transition to the not so good. What was working for the Hornets early on?
Yeah, Miles Bridges came to play tonight. It's probably the first, maybe second time this year where his shot has been going in. He had stretch shooting under 40% from the field and finally found a shot early. And you kind of know right now without Brandon Miller that they're going to need that. LaMelo Ball had I would say, an average LaMelo Ball night tonight, but without that Brandon Miller, that secondary creator, someone that's going to get their own and facilitate for others, do some of that dirty work, it's got to be Miles on this roster. Tonight he goes 10 of 16, gets to the line four times, 30 points, and that's what he's got to do. But early in the action, yeah, 21 in the first half, he kept the ship right for them going early, and everything went well until the half.
Yeah, LaMelo Ball, I want to talk about as well because you're right. Miles Bridges, he's catching the swing. He has it in the corner or the wing. He's shooting the ball confidently and it's going in. And I'm saying, oh, wow. If that three is
Yeah.
falling early on, it spells good things for the Hornets going forward. But the offensive engine for the team is LaMelo Ball. And it seemed like whenever he got penetration, good things happened. When he gets on ball or off ball penetration, I saw Matt Alkiza and James Plowright kind of put a clip in there when he cut off ball, gets the ball while cutting to the paint, ball ping, 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 ends in a Musa Diabate slam, or he's on ball, gets around, swing, 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 Con Knipple transition three. Those are the times when the Hornets are like just working in tandem and it looks so fluid, it looks so easy for the team, but that's not how it is all the time. Before we
Right.
get to the not so good, I kind of want to focus on the good before I go because I'm getting out of hand. We'll be on the not so good for a while. Um, I'm thinking about Charles Lee in the pregame, talking about the physicality that the Timberwolves present and the size that this team presents. And one of the keys to the game that he said was, and I quote, "You want to have the first point of contact against Julius Randle and McDaniels and Gobert before they get 2 feet in the paint, right? You
Got
don't
to.
want them to
Yep.
bump you for the first time when they're in the paint. You want them to feel you before they get there and do the work early. And Charles in the post game said, I feel like we did a great job with the Julius Randle game plan early on. However, that didn't persist throughout the rest of the game. So offensively, ball was pinging around. Everything was looking great. Defensively, Sion James draws 2 fouls on illegal screens. LaMelo Ball draws an offensive foul on Jaden McDaniels simply by being in the right spot. And I kind of asked Charles Lee in the postgame this too, where physicality doesn't always mean, hey, I'm going to be up in your face. I'm going to be super handsy, super touchy. It also just means beating your guy to the spot, right?
Yep.
Having that awareness and that wherewithal to say, hey, I know where he's going to be. I'm going to make sure I move my feet faster than he does. And I don't think the Hornets were able to keep that up for the whole 48 minutes.
Yeah, some of that is, and we talked a little bit about that. Some of that is it's innate. Like you have that coming in, and obviously you can do stuff to teach it. Sion is a guy that's got that, and you like to see that from a rookie this early on. And even tonight, playing that connector role, he hit a couple threes. I think one got waved off late, but Sion, I told you earlier, there's a chance of all four rookies he has the longest NBA career. He's just got that type of skill set that fits on any team, and you love to see that. Yeah, I love his game, man. I think that's a big plus right now for sure.
So first quarter, everything looks good for the Hornets. They are up six on the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're up 31-25 going into the second quarter. Second quarter starts, Con Knipple turnover, Con Knipple offensive foul, and you could see that the size is really still affecting him. Kind of talk about
Yeah.
that stint for Con Knipple today.
Yeah, Khan really needed to see the ball go through the hoop tonight, and he didn't for I think, the first half of the game. And that's kind of a carryover from that Orlando game just a couple nights ago, Thursday night. Guys with a lot of length, being able to get into his body, just not the most athletic guy on the court. And we've talked about that. He knows that. He's the first to say that when you talk to him, but his game is structured in a way to where he can overcome some of those things. So I think he's going to get back right. But tonight, he got to the free throw line, much needed. Saw both go through through the hoop, and that kind of sparked a run in the third quarter or second quarter, actually, an 8-0 run, and he had a big three at that time in the game. So Khan's gonna find his shot, but yeah, he needed to see the ball go through the hoop tonight. It took a little longer than it did in his first game for sure.
And that's the thing with shooters, where the biggest thing is seeing it go in early. He starts off not hitting threes. He goes to the basket, gets to the foul line, sees two go in, and then he has that really good transition three to kind of push the lead up to 6 or 8 for the Hornets. And then LaMelo Ball comes out. And they have a lineup of, I have it written down, Colin Sexton, Liam McNeely, Con Knipple, Tijon Salon, Ryan Kalkbrenner.
It's hard to win like that in the NBA. Yeah,
And I'm looking at the lineup and I'm saying, where's it going to come from? Because when you have only one ball handler on the court, Minnesota can just say, hey, we're locking down Colin. We're making
yeah.
sure Colin
Jaden
can't start.
McDaniels, here you
Seriously,
go.
there you
Yep.
go, man. That's your matchup. And it really, really hurt the Hornets. And what happens?
Yeah.
Charles has to put LaMelo back in the game really
And you
quickly,
could you could tell LaMelo's hobbled right now. Like he was questionable, then probable. He played tonight. I assume he will not play tomorrow. We don't know for sure for the Utah Jazz game, second night of a back to back. But I mean, you could tell he's limping up and down the court. He's even stretching out his shoulder. Like you could tell he's dealing with some aches and pains. And Trey Mann talked about it. I asked Trey how he was feeling after the game, coming off that season-ending back injury, and he said, A, I'm blessed, but B, everyone's dealing with nagging injuries, ankles, so you got to be able to play through some of it. But LaMelo, we talked about it. You got to manage some of it, man. Fourth quarter of a game like it is tonight, when it's out of hand, okay, sit down, man. We need you all season. We can't have you tweak it and miss the next 3 weeks.
So you see flashes of good things from the Hornets in the second quarter. They put in that lineup I just mentioned one more time. It's Sexton, Neely, Con Knipple, Tijon Salon, Ryan Kalkbrenner. Coach
I
has
want
to
to
put,
talk about I want to talk about the penultimate name there. Penultimate,
yeah,
the second to last. Yeah, give
we'll get to
me.
Tijon. We'll get to Tijon.
Okay, okay.
But second quarter, end of the second quarter, 2 minutes, 23 seconds left. I write down in my notes, how do you close? The Hornets are up one. They're up 46 to 45 with 2 minutes left in the second quarter. They go in to the half up 56 to 50. I think you said it, right? They basically go on an 8-0 run, and then Mike Conley hits a layup or a floater to
Yep.
make it an 8-2 run. But that's where the good stopped. And now we have to transition to the not so good. Let's before we get to Tijon, let's start off with the pace. Con Knibble has two bad turnovers at the start of the second half, and there's a push and pull that happens. And I asked Miles Bridges about this and Charles Lee about this in post game, where they want to play fast. They want to advance the ball. They want to make sure when you get the rebound, you get it out of your hands fast. But what happens with that is at times you're more susceptible to these turnovers where Con Knipple is saying, hey, I got the rebound, let me go fast. And it ends up being a turnover because the other person's not ready for that pass. Or Sion James, last game, he has the same type of turnover. How do you kind of navigate
Hitting
that
himself in
push
the
and
head.
pull, right?
Yeah.
Between we want to go fast, but also knowing going fast might make you more susceptible to more turnovers.
Yeah, that's the thing. And tonight, I mean, 14 turnovers for the Hornets. That's not great, not terrible at the same time, just kind of middle of the road. But this game was really, we talked about the length earlier. It was like as soon as one of the Timberwolves got their hands in that passing lane is a run out dunk. It felt like that multiple times. Minnesota won the fast break points 15-9. So not a ton there, but still points off turnovers definitely key in key spots. So the offense that they want to play, I think they get off to the what was it, the best offense in the league in the first 2 or 3 games of the season. Teams are making adjustments. Khan has cooled off a little bit. They don't have Brandon Miller anymore, so it is LaMelo has to be the engine. And you asked Charles after the game of when LaMelo is not in the game, how do you kind of tread water at that time? And he kind of pushed back on you and said, "It's not treading water. This is our team. This is who we are." But I understand your question because Trey Mann played a little bit better these past 2 games, but he's still trying to find kind of that spark he had in the first 14 games that he played last season. So, and if it's not Trey, it's got to be Colin Sexton getting downhill, getting to the line because we really like the rookie class. We're seeing a lot from them, but at the same time, they really just need guys to put the ball in the hoop, and that's kind of the struggle right now.
So what prompted my question, I said in the second quarter, how do you close? You're up one, 46-45. You close well. You're up 56 to 50 at the half. Then, in my opinion, the most important moment of the game, and this is when we'll talk about Tijon, is when the Hornets are down five. with 3:16 left in the third quarter. And LaMelo Ball has been in for the entire third quarter so far. You could tell he was a little gimpy. He was rubbing his shoulder. He was, limping around a little bit. And you take LaMelo Ball out, and I'm saying, oh my gosh, you're down five. You take LaMelo out, 3 minutes left. If you're the Timberwolves, you're saying, we smell blood in the water. This is the
Yep.
game. Third quarter ends. The Hornets are down 12. Talk about that stretch of the game right there.
Yeah, this is where you take someone in the top 10 of the draft, you want them to be a consistent contributor. And those moments in the game where I'm watching Tajon Salon, the number 6 overall pick in the 2024 NBA draft, and I'm wondering what value, if any, is he adding to this roster? And it goes into my mind of, okay, we know he's a second year player. There's 5 games into his, or I guess 6 games now into his sophomore NBA season. He was the youngest prospect in the draft. But what are the skills that we saw coming in last year? It was the long ball. We didn't really expect that coming. That wasn't on the scouting report coming into the NBA, and he could hit some of those deep 3-point shots tonight. 0 of 4 from behind the arc. He had 2 points and was off a beautiful LaMelo Ball feed on a silver platter right to him. On when he's on defense, you said earlier, smell blood in the water. They're going right out to John Salon. That's your 6'10" guy that was supposed to be able to guard some of these premier wings and forwards in the NBA. And it's to a point where I don't know necessarily how they handle it because would a stint in Greensboro with the Swarm be positive for him? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it'll help with his confidence, seeing the ball go through the net. But he's going to play a different role there, a much different role there than he would here in Charlotte. In Charlotte, it's literally be that catch and shoot guy. I asked Charles the other night. He said, make the decision. If the shot's not there, go ahead and pass the ball and continue cutting, swing, whatever it may be. But I'm worried about his value with this team. And we talked a ton about other prospects being there at 6 when they took him. That's all in the past now, but it's okay, Tajon. If you're going to play these minutes until Grant Williams comes back from his injury, what can you bring? Because tonight, minus 12 in 11 minutes, 2 points, a board, an assist, and a turnover. So, and that turnover was a big one that led to part of that Minnesota run. So that's appreciate the lob there to get that going.
Well, I'm gonna throw you one more lob. Talk about what you asked Miles Bridges about Tijon and then Miles's response to it in the post-game presser.
Yeah, like I mean, Miles is one of those guys. Anytime, I mean, covering this team, this is the third year now. Anytime that they come in from a blowout loss, it feels like Miles is kind of the voice. And I think his frustration was maybe earlier in the season than I've ever heard it before tonight, talking about you look around in the fourth quarter, like guys that are in there need to want to win. Basically, there needs to be a high level of competitiveness. And Trey Mann came out tonight and said that they were soft. I mean, that was the first thing he said. And the Hornets reporter, Sam Perry, was the one that asked him an easy question. So you knew he was ready to say what was on his mind. And it's not Sam Perry, but Sam Perley. But yeah, Miles, I mean, he talked about trying to uplift Tajon because Tajon's a young dude. Like I said, this is his second year in the NBA. You know his shot is there. He's got that ability. We've seen it in spurts. But the one I was referencing, he takes a pretty deep three. It's wide open. He airballs it. And he's gone back, and Miles is literally talking to him like, keep your head up, man. Keep shooting. Keep your head up. And that's the kind of veteran leadership that you're going to need on a team like this when it's not going their way. Because there really are. When you look at this lineup, we talk about the 4 rookies in this class and then Tajon. So that's 5 guys that are in their second year or less in the NBA, and they're all playing 10 or more minutes a night.
Yeah, third quarter where I said the kind of game flipped on its head. Fourth quarter, the Hornets make a quick run to try and come back, and DiVincenzo says, I'm not going to allow it, and it starts raining on them. So let's pivot from the game itself to the presser, because there's a lot of stuff. You mentioned the Trey Mann quote there. There was way more quotes in the post-game presser I want to talk about, starting with Miles. Miles Bridges says, it's about the fourth quarter. Who's there in the fourth? Like you said, this early on, 5 games in, to be questioning the team's
Six
physicality,
now.
6 games now, to be questioning the team's players
Yeah.
want to on this team. He said, "Hey, you've got to want to win," and that's the thing that's
Yeah.
concerning for me. Where it's not the talent level that they're saying is the problem. It's not, the physicality. Sometimes it's do you want it or not? And I think six
Yeah.
games in, that is a little concerning.
Yeah, and I don't know that I've gotten that vibe necessarily from this team yet. Like it was a little shocking to me when he said that because like I say, you look in the starting lineup, Colin Sexton, just like that mentality of I'm going to go at you. I'm going to be a hound on the defensive end. Kalkbrenner, a rookie. Khan, a rookie. Melo and Miles. That's your starting five. Played almost every player there played 20 or more minutes. So you're looking at that like this is your relative core group. I don't really see the lack of effort there. So like I say, it caught me a little bit off guard when he said that, like specifically 6 games in.
And that's another thing where, with Charles, like you said, you kind of threw me that lob earlier where I said, hey, for lack of better words, how do you tread water while LaMelo was out? And of course, I kind of phrased that wrong because, of course, your head coach is going to say,
Yeah.
these guys are part of the team. However, his quote, his response was, we're not treading water. I have to be a better coach and have a better feel of which guys need to be in. And that's a big thing too, where at this point you miss Brandon so much because that scoring, that dynamic ability, that dynamic skill set from him is a much, much needed asset for this team right now. But Charles also, you've got to kind of like get those lineups better where Sexton, McNeely, Con Knipple, Tijon Salon, Kalkbrenner. Where is the offense coming from in that lineup? I don't know. But again, the thing that's concerning is they weren't even worried about that. They weren't
Yeah.
worried about the offensive lineups. They were worried about the effort, which is again really concerning. Anything else you kind of want to touch on?
Yeah, I asked Charles. He had a good response. He's not trying to get fined, and I totally agree with him. But I had to ask the question. So LaMelo Ball took 2 free throws in the fourth quarter tonight. Finally got a shooting foul. That was his first time at the line since the third quarter of the Miami Heat game 2 games ago. So 9 quarters almost without a free throw attempt. And I asked Charles, what does he need to do more to get to the line more? Because he does have. I mean, we talk. He takes a lot of the push shots, the floaters. Like he's not necessarily aiming for that contact. But I just asked Charles in general, and he said, "quote That's a great question that I'm not going to touch." And for a player that has nearly a 40% usage rate, you got to know this guy's getting fouled. I mean, people are clipping it, put it on social media. I said last time I was on here, he really doesn't have a whistle. It kind of continued tonight. 18, 7, and 8 for LaMelo. Like I say, that's kind of an average game for him. And like I said on the last pod as well, he's going to have these 30 plus point games for them to be able to compete and win these games. And I know that's putting a lot on his shoulders, but that's your guy, man. He's got it, gonna have to. And I think health is definitely a question right now.
Yeah, like we talked about at the game, although he has 18, 7, and 5, I don't think it represented fairly how well he played offensively for the team.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I
He
mean,
was able to get to his spots. Everything was pinging, everything was moving around just his presence on the court. But like we said, first half, tale of two halves. First half, you're doing great stuff. Second half, you're not. The game plan, they didn't stick by. The physicality, they didn't stick by. The effort, they didn't
yeah.
stick by. But the thing is, you have a chance to make it all up back to back Sunday, 6 p.m. tip again against the Utah Jazz, which is a very winnable game. Let's see what happens. Any last thoughts before we head on out of here?
We talked about it earlier. Third quarter, 36 to 18, Minnesota. It's hard to overcome stuff like that in the NBA. And I know we see 20-point leads blown all the time, but this team, especially down Brandon, the firepower is just hit or miss. And tonight they didn't have it.
Hornets moved to 2-4. We keep hearing the physicality needs to change. We keep hearing it needs to be a 48-minute thing and not stretches. Let's see if they can actually hold true to that statement tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Try to get one up tomorrow. Maybe it might just be me, but really appreciate you guys for listening again. This is Lock It or Leave It. This is Hunter Bailey. Hunter, quickly, where can they find your stuff, listen to your coverage on the 49ers, and see where you write stuff as well?
Definitely Twitter at Hunter underscore Bailey 45 and the Charlotte Observer Highway 49 podcast. Appreciate you having me, man.
Absolutely. We're going to be doing these a lot for the season, home and away games, instant reactions. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Trying to give you as much Hornets post game content as possible. So thank you guys again. Until next time. Peace.